Cory, when did you find out that you're going to become defensive coordinator? What were your feelings, and what's it been like so far in your first month or so being in the position?
Initially, once you get that news and you hear that, it's exciting. You work hard, and I've been in the position before at smaller schools, but to be here for the past 8 years and for that opportunity to present itself, excited. Not to say overwhelmed, but at that moment it is an overwhelming feeling, and you're happy. And now at the same time you get that, then your mind sort of resets to like, okay, now this is what we got to do here moving forward, or now you're thinking about the team or whatever it is moving forward, what that team looks like in 2026, and now you're expanding how you look at everything compared to just your room. And I always had perspective, a bigger picture perspective, but now it's acting on that bigger picture perspective. So those initial moments of happiness and that, then that trigger just flips and switches right away right after that.
How would you describe your defensive philosophy now in this role as compared to just looking at the safeties, and what are you hoping to continue about Pitt's defensive identity under you as the
Yeah, I think over the years, we've taken great pride in being an attack style defense. We get after offenses, we're heavy blitz style, and we press and we're in your face, right? So those things don't change. Those things are who we are. I think when you look at it, the thing that changes is just the approach of how we go about things, okay? And that's the day-to-day, if that's in the meeting room or the field, and just coming from me, There's things from a philosophical standpoint, like we stop the run. That's what we do. We attack the football, we want to take the ball away. Like those are things, that's how we're measured, and those are things we want to still execute at a high rate that will make us a successful defense. It's just those day-to-day of how we go about things at that standpoint, and just some mentality stuff that we want to continue to grow on, and sort of harp on a little bit. But fortunate to be in the position for the last 8 years, learn from Coach Bates, and what we've been able to do. Now we're going to try to grow on that foundation that's been laid so strong over these years, and take it to another level.
When did you find out that you were going to be promoted to defensive coordinator?
What did I find out? I guess what am I supposed to tell you guys when I found out? It's around that bowl time area. You know what I mean? It was right around that bowl time, right around that range. I can't remember exact time, but right around quick conversation, and at the end of the day, it was sometime around there though.
Well, in terms of career goals, at the point you were at in your career, coming into last season, seems like if you want to advance, you could be where you are now, coordinator at Power 4 school, right? Or maybe go be a head coach at a G5 school, FCS or something like that. That would be sort of the logical next step. Did you have, as you thought about how you would want to plan it out, did you have a preference of one of those paths over the other?
Yeah, it's, in life you have these goals, and man, I want to accomplish this by this age, or do this and do that. But as you grow older, it's more important about the people and who you're around, right? Because there's different paths a lot of us could have taken throughout the time of being here and gone and done different things, right? Or maybe been a coordinator at a lower level a lot earlier, right? But I've been happy in this position and fortunate, happy working side by side with Coach Narduzzi, in this, an opportunity to win. When you look at it, we've been here for 8 years. I've been here for 8 years, competed in a conference championship twice. And even as you look at that, the other 6 years, there's been 4 of those 6 years, man, we've been playing good football in November that mattered. Okay, and that's important. You want to be somewhere where you have that opportunity. And I've had those opportunities throughout the years here, and we've done a good job of developing players and players playing at the next level, having success on Sundays, and I enjoy the people, okay? So when you look at all those things and you're happy in a place, there's things, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that, but you can't take for granted of being in a great place and a great situation that you're happy with. So I don't know if I fully answered that, but it's hard to say, I know there's progressions hey, I want to go be a head coach. No, I just want to be the best damn defense coordinator in the country right now and make these guys better. That's my goal. That's my goal. Every single day that I wake up, every single day I walk in the building, is to be the best defense coordinator and find ways to improve and enhance our defense and our program.
What did you learn from Randy Bates over the better part of the last decade, as far as maybe just how to approach the job, calling plays itself, and just what are some things like what kind of impact or influence did he have on you?
Yeah, Coach Bates, I mean, he's had a lot impact. I mean, I've sat next to him in the box from the moment I stepped foot here. We coached 103 games together. We keep track of that every single game. We coached 103 games together over the course of those 8 seasons together. And, just from the standpoint of, how he breaks down field zones, his approach, statistics-wise, and looking at it from there, from a mental aspect, there's things that I've gained from him. And I'll tell you a big thing about Coach Bates, too. His positive energy and how he wakes up and he approaches the building every single day. I mean, you talk about when we first get here in 2018 and he had cancer and he beat it and, all those things. You just look at a man even from that perspective and just his outlook and his positivity on things, even outside of just the football mental aspect. Those are great things that you pull away from him with relationships and relating to those kids and bringing up the level of people's outlook on a day in, day out basis.
What's it been like working with the rest of the defensive staff so far, especially Joe and Harlan and new guys?
It's been great. It's been great from a standpoint. You look at Joe Bowen, who's been a defense coordinator at Buffalo. You look at Coach Barnett, who's been a defensive coordinator at Michigan State as well as Florida State. And you got a lot of great experience there from those guys. And, bringing new guys in, and they've been a part of the system, but they've also been outside of it as well. And you just hear different perspective and different outlooks on ways to do things or techniques or coverages or fits, whatever it may be, and just creates great conversation. We're in there doing self-scout, and just before I walked in here, I sent the text, we'll be in there at 1 p.m., boom, going through some things and looking at it from the season. We've already spent the last few days doing it. So just having those guys from that standpoint of different points, having different point of view and different outlook on things has been great. But yeah, just overall, it's been even good today, just bouncing around other position meetings. So that practice was the weirdest thing ever today. Just doing doing individual period and now not running to my corner and doing the safeties drills and stuff. Now just walking around watching everybody. But it's great too, watching those finite details of every single position of what they're doing and how they're trying to execute it at a high rate. So it was good and bad, It was good in the sense of just looking at everybody and their coaching and how they're running and doing their things, but at the same time different of just not having your own position.
You guys brought in Joe Bowen to serve as, linebackers coach, but also run game coordinator. Why was it important to have that role kind of specialized for you guys?
That's a Coach, Narduzzi question from that standpoint. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we're all in there and we're all, you look at it on game day. I'm calling the defense, right? But there's so many man hours that go into that room, and we're coordinating this thing on a day-to-day basis together. That's reality. Okay, reality is we're in there every single day together going through what this looks like, these checks, is this best, is that best, then we walk out of that room and we're all aligned, and on Saturdays I'm the one calling it, but at the end of the day we're all helping coordinate and put this thing together and structure this thing out the right way for the success of these kids.
You've been here 8 years. In your observation, what are the unique challenges of being Pat Narduzzi's defensive coordinator?
What are the unique challenges? What are the unique opportunities? All right. At the end of the day, you get to work with somebody, and I'll say this you can look at one of my first interviews from when I first got here in February of 2018. All right, I'm from Michigan. All right, that's where I grew up, Grand Rapids, Michigan. All right. So as you grow up, you sit back, you look at whatever those schools in the Big Ten, all that, and Coach Narduzzi was a big-time defensive coordinator, right? People flew across the country to come and watch Michigan State's defense. That's reality. That's fact. That's truth. Okay, and I grew up always looking up to the toughness and who they were as a defense and how he constructed and ran those defenses, okay? So for me, from the moment I got here, it's been so much growth as a coach, as a person, and as a leader working under him, okay? So now for me, it's great. Now it's more conversations of how we're doing things, how we're doing this or that, or want to change things, and just in general conversations. So unique challenges, it's a unique opportunity to create more conversation and just talk about some things, and more opportunity for growth from my standpoint of just football in general with Coach Narduzzi hand in hand right with him,
Is it a dynamic though that you observed with Randy that if he wants to do something that's maybe a little different from what Pat does or has done that like you better have a good reason for it? You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
I would say with any great leader, right? Like you can't just walk in and be like, hey, we're doing this. No, you got to have substance and reason behind anything, right? So like, hey, we want to make this tweak here because of this, and that. All right, we watched this film and we might not have been as good versus this, and we want to make this tweak because of this, and that. Because there's been tweaks over the years. That's reality, okay? But again, our baseline of who we are who we are. But there has been tweaks and things that add value to the package as well. But that's with anybody that you gotta, have good reasoning behind any type of change, okay? And that'd be, the same thing of, hey, we want to tweak this in the back end, or hey, we want to do this, okay? What's the reason behind it?
You mentioned practices already being a little bit different for you. What are you really hoping to get out of these spring practices as a DC, as opposed to a positional coach?
So that's great. So right now, we talked like, are you talking spring ball, or are you talking about just these Wednesdays?
Whichever.
Okay, because right now the foundation is being laid. Like spring ball is going to come in 25 days. All right, we're not worried about spring ball right now. All right, what we're worried about right now, what I told the kids today, all right, when we wake up, we got to be intentional. All right, we got to be intentional and have purpose when we walk in this building. We can't drift when we step into meetings, we step on the field. We got to be intentional about getting better. Okay, that's that right there. All right, then we got to be gaining knowledge right now. Okay, we got to understand why we do what we do. All right, and why people attack us, how they attack us. Okay, so our knowledge needs to continue to be expanded on, and with early meetings, being around the coaches are available. Okay, then once we go how we approach the building, how we are in meetings, then it goes to the attention to detail when we step foot on the field, okay? When we say the linebacker has to be in a 50 technique or a 30 technique, or the D-line, this certain hand has to be down on the inside or outside of the foot, or the safety has to be at 9x1, we got to go out there and execute that and be detailed in how we execute that in walkthroughs and how we execute our techniques and all that, all right? Then with all that said, that's how we're going to develop an edge throughout February to move into March, okay? And we're also going to develop the edge in the weight room, how we strain and how we compete. So those are the focus points right now, okay? That's the focus point where we need to grow and how we need to approach every single day. Then, once spring ball comes, then we'll talk about, all right, hey, when the film turns on, this is what this thing needs to look like.
Good. All right, thank you.